Alrighty. Hello, Dr. DeRosiers, and welcome to our video session. Just to give you a little background on the family I have chose to illustrate. The son is David, who is 14 and will be played by Amy. The mom is Stacy and will be played by Kelsey. The reason for the referral was that David has been referred to this office by his local high school for individual and family counseling due to being caught engaging in sexual behavior with his 14-year-old girlfriend at school. The identified issues through initial assessment were that the family roles were unclear and the boundaries were diffused. The family reported to not communicating effectively and that they often end up in extreme circumstances. David is in trouble at school often and at home, as well as they engage in severe family arguments. There are no clear consequences and boundaries with regards to acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. So we will begin. Well, it's good to see you guys again. I'm really happy you chose to come back, and it shows me your real commitment to this process. So, good for you. I hope you're having a good week so far. Yeah. Okay. Before we begin, I would like to ask you both, what changes have you noticed that have happened or started happening since our last session?
Well, I do. I guess things have seemed a little bit better
Really?
since last time. Yeah.
Glad to hear that. Could you give me an example of what's better?
David seems to be more receptive to me when I give him curfews. He is coming
Excellent.
home on time, which is appreciative, so I don't have to call everywhere wondering where he is.
Great job, David, and great job, Mom. So, obviously it sounds like you guys did really well with communicating and respecting each other, and I think this would be a big strength in getting things where you both said you would like them to be in terms of effective communication.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah? Well, good. Trying's part of takes trying. Okay, so in our last session, we talked about the miracle question. You guys remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you guys did a great job of exploring how things would look at home if there was a miracle and suddenly things were exactly how you wanted them to be. And through that, you guys came up with some really great goals and objectives you would like to achieve. Today, I would like to explore your goal of engaging in effective communication patterns and talk about some conflict resolution techniques. How do you guys feel about that?
I'd be up for it.
Yeah, David?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So, I've got some handouts. I'd like you each to take one. And basically what we have here are 6 steps for resolving conflicts. I think this is really going to help you start to communicate or handle conflict a little better when you're communicating. So I think it'd be good for each of you to read one after the other, and after you're done with each step, if you tell me an example of how or when you may have used it.
Okay.
Okay, Mom, do you want to start?
Sure. Do I just read the first paragraph under step 1 or both?
Yeah, so the first one would be cool off, and then you read that little section,
Okay.
and then just tell me an example of how or when you have or could use that.
Okay. Conflicts can't be solved in the face of hot emotions. Take a step back, breathe deep, and gain some emotional distance before trying to talk things out. As success coach Natalie Garman says, when I take the time to breathe and regain my focus, I can create the opportunity to choose my response rather than just react. If I try to skip this step, my words are too emotionally loaded. Well, when the principal called to tell me that David had been caught having intercourse with his girlfriend at school, obviously I did want to blow up, but when I went to the school, I was in front of the principal. I wasn't really able to, go off the hinges, so I had to take a step back and really think about my words before I said them, but it was a very disappointing time for me.
Well, I can understand it was disappointing, and I think you managed that situation really effectively, so good example. David?
You want me to read step 2?
Mm-hmm. The whole section, please.
Tell what's bothering you using iMessages. iMessages are a tool for expressing how we feel without attacking or blaming. By starting from I, we take responsibility for the way we perceive the problem. This is in sharp contrast to you messages, which puts others on the defensive and closes doors to communications. A statement like, you've left the kitchen a mess again. Can't you ever clean up after yourself? Will escalate the conflict. Now take a look at how differently an iMessage comes across. I'm annoyed because I thought you agreed you'd clean up the kitchen after using it. What happened? When making I statements, it's important to avoid put-downs, guilt trips, sarcasm, or negative body language. It needs to come from a place inside that's not combative and willing to compromise. So, like, us against the problem or not us against each other. iMessages enable us to convey this.
So what would be an example of an iMessage to you?
Well, when Mom yells at me for stuff I don't understand, saying, I don't understand.
Or saying, maybe what you're saying is she tells you you don't understand?
No, when she's like yelling at me for doing stuff around the house or not doing stuff.
And what's an example of how she yells at you for not doing things?
You need to clean your room.
You need to clean your room. I mean, how do you think she might say that with an I statement?
How would she say that?
Mm-hmm.
I would appreciate if you cleaned your room.
Would you be more receptive to that?
Yes.
Mom, how do you feel about that?
Just the difference in the two statements. I mean, as soon as he said, I would appreciate, I would be more receptive to that as well, so that I can understand.
Okay, good. Great job, David. Okay, Mom, 3.
Each person restates what they heard the other person say. Reflective listening demonstrates that we care enough to hear the other person out, rather than just focusing on your own point of view. It actually fosters empathy. Mark Burns describes how he used reflective listening the time he walked into the middle of a shouting match between his ex-wife and teenage son. No sooner had I walked in the door to pick up Brandy than he and his mother erupted into battle. In the past, I might have shouted for them to stop, only to have drawn into the fray. Instead, I took a deep breath, gathered my thoughts, and chose my words carefully. I calmly asked them each if they could tell me what had happened. Then I reflected back what they said. My willingness to listen helped them listen too. They were actually able to come to a compromise, something I never before thought possible. And I can't say that this is something that me and David has ever done.
And that's okay. You need to learn new skills.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, it's a growth process, right?
We kind of just bounce off of each other when we're arguing, and we're not really taking time and thinking about what we're saying or understanding what David's saying to me.
And that tends to feed negativity rather than positivity. So that particular skill would help foster a positive way of looking at that. Okay. How do you think you might reflect what each other is saying in the future?
I think that maybe if we do get in a disagreement, and he says how he feels about something, maybe I don't know, restate it back to him, make sure that I'm understanding exactly where he's coming from, because I could be taking something from.
Right.
Like he might say that he doesn't want a certain thing for dinner, and I might be sensitive and think that he doesn't like my cooking, but that's not the fact. I have to understand what he's saying versus just like jumping to something.
Right, reflecting that helps to avoid just miscommunication, which so often many arguments are. So that would be helpful in that respect. Okay, David, number 4.
Take responsibility. In the majority of conflicts, both parties have some degree of responsibility. However, most of us tend to blame rather than looking at our own role in the problem. When we take responsibility, we shift the conflict into an entirely different gear, one where resolution is possible. You want me to read the whole thing?
please.
52-year-old Nancy Martin talked about how taking responsibility averted a major falling out with her husband. We were getting ready to go to a family gathering, and as usual, I was running late. When my husband Bill spotted me puttering around in the living room, he completely lost it. At the sound of his angry voice, I responded defensively, and then we were on our way to an ugly confrontation. But this time, instead of going into my defensive posture, I walked away for a few minutes, took some deep breaths, and got my bearings. When I walked back into the room, I was able to hear him out. Bill told me that he was so frustrated at having to wait for me whenever we went out. He also spoke about punctuality as something he highly valued. As I listened to his words, a funny thing happened. I realized he was right. I did need to get a handle on my habitual lateness. It was then that I apologized, and my husband ended up giving me a hug and thanking me. What might have become a full-blown fight actually turned into a moment of drawing closer.
Excellent. And I'd like to interject here and use the example of meeting curfew on this one, because I think you've done a really good job of taking responsibility for that. So when your mom would get upset at you for missing curfew, what could be a way you would take responsibility in that conversation?
Apologize and promise not to do it again.
Right, and even change your behavior, which you've been so good at doing this week, right? So that's a big deal. Great job. Okay, Mom, number 5.
Brainstorm solutions and come up with one that satisfies both people. Well.
Yeah, it can be hard to do, right?
Yes. Let's see. Resolving conflicts is a creative act. There are many solutions to a single problem. The key is a willingness to seek compromises. Kindergarten teacher Connie Long describes how her students started having fewer conflicts when they learned how to brainstorm solutions. My kids were constantly getting into arguments over crayons, erasers, toys, you name it. After introducing peacemaking, my students started finding ways to solve the problem instead of just getting stuck in their own positions. For example, when Ronnie and Jamie both grabbed a yellow truck, I took them aside and asked if they could come up with 5 ways to solve the problem. They thought about it and then suggested taking turns, sharing, getting another truck from the toy chest, doing a different activity, and building a truck together out of Legos. This is the kind of thing I'm seeing more and more. Brainstorming has opened my child's mind to new possibilities.
And what have you brainstormed in the past with David, or is this something that you're just doing now or in the future?
I think that we may have tried the idea of brainstorming, but I don't think that it went over very smoothly. But I think it would be something now that we're open and willing to change our communication with each other, that we would be willing to definitely try that again.
Right. And
yeah, I don't think we've brainstormed before.
Right. Okay, but we're focused on now and in the future, and that's what matters. Developing those positive skills to go forward. So, good job. And David, the last one, please, number 6.
Affirm, forgive, or thank. A handshaking, hug, or kind word gives closure to the resolution of conflicts. Forgiveness is the highest form of closure. Minister Frederick Buchner says, when you forgive somebody, you spared the dismal corrosion of bitterness and wounded pride. For both parties, forgiveness means the freedom again to be at peace inside their own skins and to be glad in each other's presence. What a legacy we can leave to our children as we teach and model this. Just saying thank you at the end of a conflict or acknowledging the person for working things out sends a message of consolation and gratitude. We preserve our relationship this way, strengthening our connections and working through problems that arise.
So this is a big one.
Mm-hmm. I can take responsibility for messing up and making some bad decisions and not doing everything Mom asks. So, and she does a lot.
Yeah, and just telling her thank you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mom, you appreciate that?
Yes.
Right. And I'm sure David does too.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to feel appreciated and validated. And I think that y'all are really making progress with this. So.
Yeah, especially since Dad has not been around and moved out. Mom's had to pick up all the slack.
Right. And it's important that she knows that you really appreciate all that she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's good to hear, Mom.
It is.
Good.
Yes.
Good,
That's
good,
sweet, David. Thank you.
Good job. Well, you guys have done a great job today, and I believe that practicing these techniques will be very effective and having more positive communication at home. It is time for us to finish up today, but before we do, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think I'm okay.
Yeah? Feel good about today?
I do
Yeah.
feel good about
Yeah?
today.
Good. I think y'all did a really great job. How would you guys feel about a homework assignment?
Could be interesting.
Yeah, open to
How do you
that?
feel about homework, David?
It's not that hard. It's not that labor intensive, I promise. Okay. Okay, so I would like you to both start keeping a journal and write down positive changes at home you think are helping with your communication and conflicts. And I would also like you to write down times you think you're effective in using the skills that we talked about in session, right? And that way we can evaluate what's working, what maybe is not working, things we need to concentrate on, yeah? What do you guys think about that?
I think that could be helpful.
Yeah, David?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, thanks.
Try.
Okay. And we can process these in the next session. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you guys are making great progress, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with in your journals. So I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to.
What did I do?